Alright everyone, and welcome to the Highland Collector YouTube channel. Now 2023 marked the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, which first released back in theatres on the 25th of May 1983. And normally on the year that one of the good Star Wars films has an anniversary, Lucasfilm likes to celebrate by pushing a massive merchandising campaign. And this year was no exception, as not only did we see Return of the Jedi get its time to shine with tons of products released under this 40th anniversary banner, but surprisingly the Clone Wars also got a ton of merch released as well for its 20th year, which is great because Disney seemed to finally be realising that prequel era toys sell. But today we're not talking about the Clone Wars, and instead I will be focusing on Return of the Jedi, as not only is it the greatest Star Wars film of all time, but with it being one of the OGs, it definitely felt like it was at the forefront of the merchandising which was to be expected. And it was great to see Jedi get all this recognition once again, as toy companies like Lego, Hot Toys, Funko and of course Hasbro all capitalised off of it. But today I am going to be focusing on Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series line and the figures that released this year in order to honour this fantastic movie. Because now it's nearing the end of the year and all the celebratory products have been released, I wanted to take a look back at everything that was released under this 40th anniversary banner to see whether or not Hasbro did this anniversary justice, as I do have a ton of mixed feelings about how they handled things. Now 2023 also marked the 10th year of the Black Series line, and with only 10 figures releasing in 2013, this year was the first time that Hasbro could go all out on Return of the Jedi in 6-inch scale, because this was a massive opportunity for them to go crazy with amazing new figures we haven't seen before. Yet we kinda knew what to expect from their handling of the 40th anniversaries for A New Hope and Empire, and using The Empire Strikes Back as an example because it was the most recent, the anniversary figures basically consisted of 3 waves of carded figures, majority being repacks, with a few brand new ones thrown in there that were released twice on card and then in Wave 4 Galaxy boxes too, in addition to some exclusive figures like carbonized, more carded figures that were also exclusive, and then some bigger deluxe sets. So yeah, that was the Black Series Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary quickly summed up, and as we expected, Return of the Jedi followed that formula very closely, which honestly resulted in another rather lackluster anniversary in my opinion. But staying positive, at least it did result in the amount of Return of the Jedi figures increasing, as for the past few years we were getting tons of them, which was super exciting, but ultimately it was just Hasbro preparing for this, producing them close enough to the anniversary so that they could easily re-release a ton of them whilst they were still in production. As even though we did see 23 figures released for the anniversary, 25 if you include the Galaxy box repacks of Wicket and Chewie, 10 of them were just straight repacks. As we saw 3 main anniversary waves consisting of 17 different carded figures, and to be honest I do really like the card backs of these figures. As an inbox collector I am a sucker for the packaging, and of course these capture the nostalgic classic Kenner artwork. However, many of the figures within these waves leave a lot to be desired. As in wave 1 we saw Endor Leia, Endor Han Solo, Skiff-Guard Lando, again for some reason, the classic Biker Scout, and finally the long awaited Wicket W Warwick, who single-handedly saved this first wave. I guess it is always nice to see the Biker Scout, as that is the quintessential Return of the Jedi trooper, yet Wicket is such an overdue character, and I feel like Hasbro has been reserving and waiting to release him for this anniversary, which is a little scummy, yes, but I'm just glad we finally got to see him in the Black Series, and he doesn't disappoint because this figure looks amazing and is a strong contender for Figure of the Year. Additionally, revealed with them is a repack of the deluxe Boba Fett, and I'm not mad we're seeing him again because that is one of the greatest deluxe Black Series figures of all time. As for the others though, they are just straight repacks of popular staple characters, the exact same figures we've seen before, just carded, and this is lazy from Hasbro, but then again it's just Hasbro being Hasbro. As shitty as they can be, repacks were to be expected. And I think it is a decent selection. Obviously I would have preferred to see entirely new figures, yet I think they did well to cover as much of the film as possible, from Endor to Jabba's palace and of course the throne room. And the second wave, although a little bit weaker, covers more bases as it consists of 5 more figures and a deluxe, the standard releases being a slightly new Chewbacca, Paploo the Ewok, Emperor Palpatine, Bib Fortuna and a classic Stormtrooper. Now the latter 3 are just regular old repacks, again nothing special, but the highlights of this wave for me has to be Paploo. Yes, this is another repack, but he has long been exclusive to that expensive Heroes of Endor multi-pack, so to finally be able to get him affordably as a single release is great. Furthermore, that new Chewbacca is also pretty cool too, the only difference being the new head sculpt, which gives him his Return of the Jedi curtains, and also a chain that sadly can't be removed, as it is sculpted into the head, making it a very specific version of Chewie that unfortunately does limit his displayability due to the fact the chain makes him look out of place amongst the Endor figures, and I do wish the repack got rid of his chain. Now the deluxe figure that came with Wave 2 was indeed the highly anticipated Endor Rebel Commando. Like Wicket, it's the only completely new one of the wave, and again similar to Wicket, this one definitely didn't disappoint despite the fact it has a few small flaws. It looks great, especially with the swappable heads, which is a nice inclusion. However, I don't get how this one's a deluxe when the Hoth Rebel Trooper isn't. but whatever, this figure just looks incredible. But I think the third and final wave was definitely the strongest. Although it only came with 4 standard figures, it did offer the most in terms of new tooling and molds. The best figure of the wave in my opinion being R2-D2, that has an entirely new body to finally make the Astromech droids more in scale with the rest of the line, on top of coming with a lot of brand new accessories too. Vader is also another standout, as that head sculpt alongside the new 2-piece helmet is awesome, and that loot looks pretty good as well. Hasbro has come a long way with their loots, and this one is definitely one of the better figures. And lastly, to end off the main wave, we did see another Royal Guard with a few slight upgrades, as I believe the soft goods on this version are more easily removable. And finally, alongside these 4, we did of course get our third deluxe figure, this time another repack in the form of the Gamorrean Guard. Again, another incredible deluxe figure I'm not mad to see again, which was originally going to release as a tier for the Rancor HasLab, but we all know how that went. So overall, I think the carded waves were fine, and definitely a better offering than what we saw released with Empire, with the highlights being figures like that amazing Wicket, which was the best thing to come out of this anniversary, the Endor Rebel Soldier, the new R2-D2, and the other newly tooled figures discussed in Wave 3. Although I would have preferred to have seen some more rarer figures retooled, such as Slave Leia instead of the Endor one, yet if you are an inbox collector, you were eating well regardless, as together all of these on display on card would look incredible. Yet out-of-box collectors, which I assume make up quite the large proportion of this community, may have felt more indifferent to these releases, because repacks of peg-warming figures like Skiffguard Lando and Bib Fortuna would have felt rather redundant. And with that being said, even the majority of the new figures like Chewie, Wicket and R2 are all being released again in the main line too, so if you buy full cases then you could have skipped these carded releases, therefore making a lot of these figures feel kind of hit or miss. However, in addition to those anniversary waves, we did also see some exclusives released, which range from amazing to kind of odd, and starting with the first figure that actually released early in 2022, this is the carded Kenner style Admiral Akbar that was released as a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, and also packaged in an awesome shiny card back. Now this figure is painted to represent the Kenner action figure from the 1980s, and although it is just another repaint, I actually really love this one. Akbar's one of my favourite aliens, and to see a 6-inch version of the character with this paint job, giving him those creepy bright yellow eyes, and finally the addition of his pointer as an accessory was great. And for the most part, I much prefer when Hasbro do something original and fitting for their exclusives instead of just a standard repack. However, with that being said, this next figure has the same intentions to reference the past, but failed. And I'm of course talking about this Revenge of the Jedi Vader, which is just a repaint of Darth Vader but red, as it seems like Hasbro is going through the entire rainbow with Vaders. But jokes aside, this figure is based off the first promotional posters for Return of the Jedi, and back then it was called Revenge of the Jedi before it was changed. Now this was a Celebration exclusive, and to be fair, I think it is a nice homage to Star Wars history, as the box is definitely the highlight here, as the packaging looks great, showing off that original poster and of course the old logo. Yet behind this beautiful packaging is a mediocre figure that, like I said, is just a red Vader in which the paint is trying to capture the poster's art style. It comes off looking like a rather shitty credit collection figure. I personally don't think it looks great. The maroon soft goods cape is fine, but it's just those bright red highlights that really put me off. And finally, another nitpick I have with this one being that on the poster, Vader clearly has a blue lightsaber, so the figure should have come with a blue lightsaber, not a red one. But next up, going back to carded figures, we have this Amazon exclusive set of 2, which were the Carbonized TIE Fighter Pilot and Royal Guard, and I know for a fact this was a disappointment to many, as Carbonized is an extremely hated subline that was brought back from the dead with these 2. But being honest, I don't hate these ones. Clearly there are so many other figures I would have loved to have seen instead, but as far as Carbonized go, these are decent, especially that Royal Guard, as I really enjoy that metallic red they use. That gives me Sith Trooper vibes, and as always the card backs are pretty cool, as I am a sucker for shiny cards, and the red and blue themes just add to that. But all in all, they are pretty disappointing exclusives. You know it's not great when repainted Admiral Akbar was the best of the lot. Yet we did get incredible multi-packs to save the day, starting with a free pack of the Endor Force Ghosts, those being Yoda, Obi-Wan and finally Anakin, who were all sold as a free pack but packaged on separate Kenner style cards. Now the main draw here was definitely Anakin, as we have gotten Force Ghosts of Obi-Wan and Yoda before as their own exclusive, but now we finally have that Hayden Christensen Force Ghost, and it's incredible as he's been missing for a while now, and with this release we can finally complete the scene. I actually would have preferred they had forgone the card back and released them with the Ewok Village Bridge instead, in a similar manner to that SDCC Cantina free pack with the bar. That walkway was plastered all over the packaging, making everyone annoyed that it wasn't included. But lastly, the final figure we have to talk about is the other big set that was of course the re-release of Jabba the Hutt, who we haven't seen in the Black Series for a while, and it's great to finally be getting him again. with the addition of Salacious B. Crumb, the Rail, and also his hookah. Now, it was obvious that Hasbro was saving a re-release of Jabba the Hutt for this anniversary, and although this can be seen as a safe and unoriginal release compared to what we could have got, he is a staple of Return of the Jedi, and this re-release is great for collectors like myself who missed the original, though I have to say this is definitely one of the better figures we got for the anniversary. So that was a rundown of all the Return of the Jedi anniversary figures, from the repacks to the repaints, the exclusives and the brand new figures. And I have to say, after looking back at all of them, although we did get a lot of classic Jedi figures, there was nothing really mind-blowing. Yet I still feel like we were short-changed because there's so many characters from this beloved film we still haven't seen in 6" yet. And this year would have been the perfect time for Hasbro to make them, with my biggest grievance being that we didn't see the Max Rebo band at all. A free pack of Max, Nice Noodles, and also Droopy McCool, with their respected instruments as well. Yes, it would have been expensive, but my god, it would have been incredible. And I am beyond disappointed that Hasbro didn't release it this year. Like, I would have taken that over the Force Ghost any day of the week. Now, I am aware that the scales are always tipping in favour of the Black Series these days, but I still can't help but get jealous when I see how many skiff guards the Vintage Collection keeps getting, in addition to other Jabba's Palace aliens. I mean, the Black Series can't even get Yak Face, and again, 2023 would have been the perfect time to see some. But instead of true greatness, we got repacks of characters who, let's be honest, definitely didn't need it. And it's not just the Max Rebo band and the skiff guards I'm gutted we didn't see released, but other key characters are still missing, like Nine Numb, General Medine, Pruneface, and even Mon Mothma, who I thought would have gotten a Jedi appearance, given we just saw that Andor figure released earlier this year. And of course, if you watch this channel regularly, you know I am a big advocate for Ewok representation in the Black Series, so seeing more of them, like Logray and Chief Chirper, would have been ideal. And I know Hasbro can't make all of these because they are presumably on a tight budget for what they can do, and have other Star Wars media to make products for, which is why I'm guessing we see these repacks so often. But I think they are missing the trick with these anniversary figures, because they should just be going more obscure. Characters like Anakin, Wicket and Jabba are so iconic they can release them whenever, whereas cult favourites like Amana Man and Elephant Mon would benefit from the anniversary branding. As I think to properly celebrate the birthday of a Star Wars film, we should be getting more deep-cut figures of characters that Hasbro would see as risky to release at any other time. Like, honestly, as much as I like seeing all these great figures on a card back, I would have much preferred if they cut the amount of anniversary products down from 25 to maybe 10, but have those 10 be amazing new figures we haven't gotten before. Quality over quantity. So in conclusion, did Hasbro do a good job with Return of the Jedi's anniversary? Similar to The Empire Strikes Back, it's good but not great. The brand new figures like Wicket and the Commando definitely carried. The big exclusives like Jabba and the Force Ghost also were highlights for me as well. And overall, I think this year has slightly raised the bar, as the offering here is admittedly better than what we got for Empire and A New Hope. It was just annoying that we got so many repacks when there's still so many important characters missing, and only getting 3 completely new Return of the Jedi characters we haven't seen before just feels like a massive missed opportunity. And lastly, I do need to talk about the elephant in the room, that being the Rancor HasLab, because if Hasbro hadn't have fucked up the tiers and actually got it funded, it would have released this year, and that amazing Rancor figure would have made this anniversary film much more exciting. But at the end of the day, although we may not have gotten the cool and original figures we were dreaming of, with Hasbro missing some huge opportunities, I guess we have to at least be thankful that Hasbro actually made Return of the Jedi anniversary figures in the first place, as let's be honest, we could have gotten nothing. But anyway, those were my thoughts on how Hasbro handled the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. But let me know what you thought of the anniversary figures we got this year down below in the comments, and also what you would have ideally wanted instead of another Skiff Guard Lando. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.